Let's do it. Well, welcome to the REDSHOP presentation. I don't know if the camera is running, but we'll live with that. So, who am I? My name is Ronni. I've been working with web pages the last 18 years, IT and web pages. I started building websites in 1993, not far after the HTTP protocol was actually published or established. I built the first CMS and e-commerce system that was approved by the Danish bank systems back in 1997 as a general system. Today I've done more than 1,000 web shops, and I've been doing e-commerce sites for 15, 16 years now. Well, actually it was actually, yeah. And then later it became a Visual Basic script and classic, yeah. So, and then finally I swapped over to PHP and open source, of course, as it matured, and I was using Mambo for a few years too, and then followed over to Joomla. And I built a lot of web shops all the time, but at some point we also started using VirtuMart, of course, as we did back then. There wasn't anything else, but our clients kept on coming and wanted customization. And VirtuMart was never thought as a toolkit or something you'd customize, like creating a new field. You would need to use 25 hours changing all the SQL queries, and it was just silly. Like a client would say, "Yeah, I'd like a new field for some information." "Yeah, that'll be 2,000 euros. What? They didn't get it. And basically, building a web shop is not something a backend developer should do, because backend developers do code. They don't do web shop or conversion optimization or all those things that affect how much you sell on a website. That's your front enders or your design people or your analytics people or people like that. So we kind of wanted to do an e-commerce system that was a toolkit. So when you wanted to build websites for your clients, you could actually use it as a toolkit so the front enders could build the web shops instead of the back enders. And there's a big difference on the logics you apply to a system when it's supposed to be used by front-enders and not by back-enders. But anyways, we have redComponent.com, iRedHost.com, RedWebDK, not RedHost.dk. I'm not saying more companies wouldn't be added to that in the future, but right now I think we got enough to do. So, but REDSHOP, conceptually, the idea was to build a toolkit for front-enders, our front-enders, to build websites for our clients. And of course, having a lot of experience from my own system, from other systems, and from VirtuMart too, I kind of knew what I didn't want to do, and I knew what I wanted to do, and what I wanted to emphasize too. So instead of just building like a technical monster where you could set up a web shop, I wanted to build something where you could sell more products. And again, as a toolkit for the front-enders. So the first version of REDSHOP came out, version 1.0, a couple of years ago. And in the first 12 months, we did 48 releases of the 1.0 series, adding new features every week, basically, except for holidays and vacations. And after the first year, we then went on to work on the 1.1 series, learning from the first year. And we kind of figured out, well, we need to do a dashboard. We need to do some customization and make it easy for people to work with. We also needed to do a configuration wizard for people to get a quicker start on a new web shop, because on the 1.0 series it was purely a tool for ourselves, and we could do the 180 options configuration, but people without the same experience would need an easier way or smoother way into starting a web shop. So we built the dashboard with the quick start wizard, and that approach of us building a tool to ourselves and then slowly making it more and more accessible, more and more usable, and more and more easy to use for non-tech people at the same level or with the same experience is the natural growth of REDSHOP. So over time it will be more and more available, more and more easy to get started with, even if you don't have 15 years of experience. So, but this is just a new dashboard, or the 1.1 series dashboard. It's not so new any longer, as it's nearly a year old. But you can do a lot of things and put in your own quick icons and stuff like that. So, and just some quick statistics showing some things. But part of what we wanted to do was actually implement new features that hadn't been seen in e-commerce systems, or at least not in mainstream e-commerce systems or in open source e-commerce systems. We actually wanted to do tools that were part of custom-made e-commerce sites with a price tag of 250,000 euros or upwards. So one of those things was the action email. Consider you have 10,000 orders a year in your web shop, and you send out an email automatically after a week saying, "Thank you for shopping with us, blah, 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 you can review us here," something. Then 3 months later you send them an email saying, "Dear customer, it's 3 months since you shopped in our shop, here's a 5% discount code, do come back." Well, if you have 10,000 orders a year and you send out a 5% discount code after 3 months, you might just get 500 new orders by doing absolutely nothing. You spend 5 minutes setting up the email, and now you have 500 more orders a year. So your turnover just went up by 5% by working 10 minutes or 5 minutes. That's good business. And if you can tell your clients that's one of the features they get, then you get more business building web shops too. It's pretty easy. Because one thing clients like is actually earning money on the web shops. That's a funny concept, but that's how it is. So in REDSHOP you can send up to 3 automated action emails. You can design up the templates for it. You can enter tags to generate the codes. And if people has an account on your web shop, which is optional, the coupon code, they will get the discount code, will be on their account too, so you can see how far or how long it will be until it expires. So another thing we really wanted to emphasize was the availability for front-enders to completely build a web shop that would match any design idea. So it had to run natively on the Joomla template framework, meaning you didn't want to load up 18 million files or 200 additional files or a framework or anything. It's native Joomla. You put a normal template override for REDSHOP in it, and you can override any view in REDSHOP. And you don't need to know a single line of PHP to do it. If you go into REDSHOP and create a new field, you get a tag out matching the field. You just put that directly in your template override, and it works right away. So you have complete freedom to change anything. and like the add to cart is a template of its own. If you've got accessory products, that's a template of its own. The entire product page, detail page, is a template of its own. The category template is a template of its own. Then you can use, on some product templates, you can use one type of add to cart. On others, you can use another type. So some could have quantities, some could not have. On some, you could put in accessory products, and you could do checkboxes to add accessory products into the same product you add to cart. But I'll show a bit more later. A third thing we wanted to do was segmented newsletters, and it's pretty basic. When you're doing newsletters in a web shop, you're always keeping your relation with your clients up to date or warm, if you will. So if I go into a web shop and I buy a pair of jeans for my kid Emil on 6 years, and I get them home, and 2 weeks later I get a newsletter with 5 dresses in the newsletter, I'm thinking, what do I need this for? That's just strange. So I get a little minus on my relation to the web shop. Now 5 weeks later I get a new newsletter with 5 new dresses, and now I'm starting to get annoyed, so 2 more minuses. So the third time I'll get a newsletter with products that has absolutely no relevance for me and my history as a shopper in that web shop, I'm canceling my newsletter subscription. So now we have lost the opportunity to actually sell products in the future. And that's bad. So you need to micromanage your newsletters, segment it. And now REDSHOP is not a mailing campaign system. What we tell our clients is get a AC mailing, the enterprise version. It'll handle bouncing and everything. Then use REDSHOP to do your segments and push them to lists in AC mailing. Then you have the best of both worlds. So you can go in and you can pick any customer that has done between 5 and 8 orders, that has shopped from between 200 and 1,200 euros, that has bought products in a specific category or even specific products or from specific countries. You select your parameters and you click generate, and it generates the entire list of customers that match it. So you're using business intelligence and analytics on your actual user data combined with demographical data to create new lists where you can do targeted campaigns. Then you send out a newsletter to all the people who bought jeans for their 6-year-old boys, and damn, you're selling 12% on a newsletter. And that's a huge number. A lot of people doing newsletters and web shops today are selling like 0.08% on a newsletter, and they're wearing out, they're tearing down the relation to the customers. So you spend more time building concrete newsletters that are specific and targeted, but you get a lot more out of it. So this is something that can really affect the turnover of a web shop. And basically, when I have my consultancy business hat on, if I can tell my clients, yeah, we'll build you a web shop and then we'll teach you to do this, and your turnover will grow 15% on this alone, or 20%, or 50%, it's not so hard to sell a web shop. It gets easier. So, but of course, the most important thing when running a web shop, beyond actually selling something, is people having the ability to find their products on Google. So running a web shop, and without naming names, I had a debate with someone last year who said to me, a guy who builds a web shop system, that SEF URLs, that's not important. It doesn't matter. SEO is not so important. Well, it might not be if you're developing the software, but if you're running the web shop, you'd like your products to be found. That's the first step in actually selling something. So what we have done in REDSHOP is we have, of course, native support for SEO and SEF generation, but then we did an advanced integration for SH44SEF component, which means that REDSHOP loves SH44SEF, but it's REDSHOP that wears the pants, and that's a pretty important parameter or factor. Because the thing is, normally you would go into SH4SEF and you would control all your SEO and SEF stuff from that component. But with REDSHOP, you control everything in REDSHOP. So when you go into your product editing page, you click the 4th tab, which is called SEO, and you got access to page title, page headings, SEF URLs. If you've got a product in multiple categories, then you just click which category do you want to be the primary category so you don't get duplicate content with multiple URLs. You could also change meta keywords, meta description, meta language, and robot text. Also, we've added, since that screenshot, or we are adding, I'm not sure we released it yet, but canonical URLs. So if you have multiple pages with the same content, text content, you can do a canonical URL string to point to the one you want Google to use as your primary. People used to do rel nofollow on links to tell Google, well, you can't follow this link, it has no relevance. But Google doesn't care about rel nofollow, so you have to use canonical URLs to do the same. But of course, ideally, you would not have any pages on your website that would be a cause to duplicate content, because it's problematic. And if you do, you have to use canonical URLs. A small note is that in Denmark, we don't have a sandbox in Google. We're such a small country that we don't have a sandbox. So when I do changes to our SEO, I will see the effect after 24 hours in Google directly. I don't have to wait 4 months. So during the last 10 years I've been working with Google and search engine optimization with Google. The amount of experiments I've done and the amount of practical knowledge I've gained from this, from having direct access to Google mechanism and understanding the algorithms and how it works, it's huge. If people in other countries does that with a Google Sandbox, they'll have to wait 4 months, 3 to 4 months on every test they do. If you want to experience some of this, build a website with Danish language and put your computer to Danish language. When you then use Google, it will feed you primary results with Danish language as a primary factor, and you can get the same advantage of working in a country and in a language without a sandbox. I forgot to mention, both categories and manufacturers has a tab called SEO too. And if you go into the configuration of REDSHOP, there's a tab where you can do the actual logics with tags to tell to tell REDSHOP how to force SF447 or native Joomla SF to create page titles and headings and metadata exactly like you want to do it. But our fifth element of running a web shop is that when you get to a certain level of success, you need to have ERP integration. Your web shop cannot exist alone any longer. You need to have a formalized accounting system, and you would prefer it to be an online one like we did with economic.com. It's an online ERP system, a SaaS service, but it's straight out of the box. It's very easy to use. With an integration to Economic, it's pretty simple to set up. You install the plugin, you put in your agreement number, your username and your password, and then you can decide, well, should it do invoices live or should it do when I click book invoice from the REDSHOP product order overview. So when you click order invoice here, if you're doing it manually, then it will open up the API to Economic. It will check if the debtor exists, create the debtor, create the invoice, add all the products lines in, and everything is automated. We will create an invoice, pull it back in a PDF and send it out to the client. Now the thing is, creating your products in a SaaS ERP system like Economic is pretty tedious, and you already got all your products in REDSHOP. So what you do is you just install the plugin, set up the integration, and then in REDSHOP you create synchronized to Economic, and it will create all of your products in Economic automatically. So you only have one source for your products. Now, of course, and it can do a lot of other things. If you're using attributes in REDSHOP to create virtual products, instead of having to do parent-child products, you will get hundreds of duplicate content pages and it's hell. So instead just do virtual products by utilizing attributes. Then you can enter a virtual product number for each. When you then do the integration to Economic, it will create all of your attribute virtual products as real products in the ERP system too. And it's really easy to work with. But Economic is just the standard integration that's available for REDSHOP. You can do custom integrations to anything. We got clients running with SAP integrations, with Navision integrations on all sorts of level. And we also decided to build an XML engine in REDSHOP, so you can go in and create an XML export or import, where you basically go in and say, well, I want to do a product export or an order export. Then you get access to all the database tables that are relevant for orders or for products, and you can pick which fields you want to send out in an XML feed. So basically, it's a form of simplified web service you control and where you can create your own feeds. So if you wanted to have a stream on Google Base or another price comparison website or whatever, you can create it in 30 seconds or less. And that's pretty nifty too. Now, the REDSHOP configuration is big. No doubt about that. It's very big. We over the last 6 months, we reorganized elements, boxed them differently, put more labels in, and tried to make it even easier to overview. But like in all web shops today, you only have one image ratio. So if you're selling boats and flagpoles, as I used an example earlier today, then you have a problem because the image ratio of boats and flagpoles is not the same. But in REDSHOP, you can have up to 3 different aspect ratios for your images. So you could sell boats and flagpoles and giant round balls if you wanted to, and it's not a problem because you can utilize the 3 different aspect ratios directly on all your templates. you would have a main image underscore 1 or image thumb underscore 2 or 3. So you have those 3 different aspect ratios you can utilize. Now, in the future of REDSHOP, we will add a new tab in the configuration with the ability to hide options for clients. So if your client doesn't want to look at all the options, because some client will look at it and say, oh, what do I need all this stuff for? Then you can go in and you can hide a lot of it. That will come in a future version. But there's a lot of features in REDSHOP. When I do a basic feature presentation of REDSHOP, of all the features in REDSHOP, I normally use around 6 hours to go through the backend and show each of the features. Not going in depth, but just going through them. So there's lots and lots and lots of features. There's also something like, if you use the quotation system, you can allow for people to go in, put a product in the cart and request a quote. Then there will be a mail to the administrator saying a quote came in. So you can go into REDSHOP, you can see the list of quotes in queue. You can go in and adjust the prices, click OK, then it will be sent out to the user's email, and they will have a quote on offer, and they can click accept, and it will be converted to a real order right away. So you have a working flow process integrated for handling quotes. But there's so many things. There's a complete business-to-business shopper portal system integrated with shopper groups and individualized access. Once you enable that feature, you can go in and create a new category, and you can tie it to a specific shopper group. So you can do specific shopper groups or secluded areas on your web shop only for specific customers. But there's so many things here. There's also unlimited amount of stock rooms with logics to pick from the stock room with the lowest delivery time. You could even create containers and fill them with pre-ordered items from the manufacturer or supplier, and then you can put new products on top of that and do a full container on a certain amount of square meters and stuff like that. There's so many features here. So yeah, of course, there's 9 different CSV files for importing and exporting. And there's also the XML engine for importing and exporting. So you can import and export everything. In 3 to 6 months, we are launching an add-on for REDSHOP called RedCRM. In RedCRM, all the products will go from being 100 products to individual product entities. And there we did a CSV regulator file. So you can upload a CSV file with 10,000 product lines. And for every supplier, it will create a new supplier invoice with every single entity. And for every regulation where you remove products, we do stock regulations. And for big companies or running big web shops, these things are extremely important because they will generate their supplier invoices in a different system. When you go upscale in web shops and in shops in general, you no longer create 100 products in the store, you create them through a supplier invoice. So all products will be created from a supply invoice, and then it will flow down through the process. But that also means with RedCRM, you have the possibility of doing real-time cost price calculations based on the FIFO principle of first in, first out. So you can go and get exact analytics for your earnings, your revenue, your turnovers, and etc., etc. But it's coming in 3 to 6 months, and the interesting thing is that it also utilizes economic.com as a slave mode accounting system. And then it builds on top of that with a combination of an ERP and a CRM system. And normally to get access to a web shop with this kind of level of business intelligence and possibilities would set you back at least 100 and 150,000 euros or more. And now you'll get a suite with all these things available. And on top of that, there's a lot of third-party integrations, and there's more third-party integrations coming too. So you can utilize a lot of different things too, like Google Analytics. Today we use that on a lot of clients to do conversion tracing, funneling, and all those sorts of things. And we add in AdWords, conversion tracking, and all sorts of things. So you get a lot of options to really push it to the next level, to do bigger web shops, to do web shops that does a lot higher turnovers. We did a web shop just before Christmas, or before the Christmas season, and it did between 500 and 700 orders a day in the Christmas sale period. So we also built an automated order batch handling process. So you could go in the back end, show 100 orders per page, and then take the status of everyone that was paid. And then you would say change to shipped, then just click save the status change, and it would automatically open up to economic, create the debtor, create the invoice, take the invoice back, send it to the client, open up to an EDI system, create the shipping label, open up to the gateway, capture the money, and send any money that was left in the reserve back. And then finally it would send down packaging notes to a printer right next to the shipping label printer. So down at their stock room, at their storage, they had 2 printers, and then just put out 100 prints from each, and they would go around and package the boxes, put the shipping label on, the packaging note inside, and everything was automated. So a lot of these things are highly important when you want to do real web shops. If you're selling 2 products a month, put an add to cart on a Joomla article. It's not worth doing a real web shop. But if you want to do real web shops, or if you want to do real web shops for clients, then take it seriously. Figure out what makes a web shop run, what makes it tick, what's actually the mindset you need to have when you're building web shops, or if you have a web shop. Now, in the future of REDSHOP, there's a lot more integrations coming. We also have something new, because we have, of course, a business model where until today you could get a 12-month Pro subscription to get access to all of our added extensions. So one of those added benefits we're adding for people like a web agency doing web shops, well, they just have 1 Pro subscription. And then to give an incentive to kind of put more money in our end, we're building an automatic updater, so all of their clients' web shops can be automatically updated. And then they'll pay like $20 per year per domain name to us. So we get a small piece of the cake, and the red shops would be automatically updated. Another thing that's coming is we are starting to put out templates with REDSHOP support natively. We have the first one that's running on a demo site, redshop.demo.redcomponent.com. It's a native Joomla template. There's no framework, no nothing. And the overrides is completely native Joomla HTML overrides for REDSHOP. We will be releasing 6 to 12 templates a year that supports our own components. And this is to give people that build websites a way into, like, when people don't have a real budget, as I call it, with workshop, wireframe, design process, and everything. That's a lot of hours that goes into that. Then they can start with one of the quick start templates, basically, and alter it. Another thing that's coming is technical documentation. The thing is, we're 2 years into REDSHOP now, and now we're building 1.2 series. We're sanitizing, modernizing all of our code base. In the process so far, we're expecting to remove 50% of the code base of the current 1.1 of REDSHOP, because we've built REDSHOP based on client input, on user input. So over a full generation, at a certain point, it'll get to a point where it's patchwork on patchwork on patchwork on patchwork. So you need to modernize, to sanitize, to take it to the next level. And that is what we're doing now. We're also completely redoing all code commenting throughout all files of REDSHOP. And REDSHOP is perhaps the largest Joomla component ever built. There's a lot of files in REDSHOP. All the code commenting is being updated, and then we will use PHP Documenter to do technical documentation. So people building third-party integration will have a lot easier way into it and figuring out what's making REDSHOP tick and how. Another thing coming in a half year's time or so is more or less simpler content styling kits. Like you're using a template from a template club, and you would like to have a content styling kit for your inner content of REDSHOP, matching somewhat around the closeness of how your web shop looks like. Well, then there will be 8 or 10 content styling kits to choose from, so you could relatively quickly get a web shop going without any work. Of course, I prefer building web shops the right way, conceptualizing what are you doing, what's your segments, what's your market, what are you selling, what's your approach, what's your storytelling, what's your background, what's your selling points, and all those things, doing everything, big workshops, pulling in employees from the client and their experience from 15 years to 25 years in their store, and taking the best of everything, doing complete wireframing and a web strategy for the next 5 to 8 years and everything, and then doing the design and implementing everything and stuff like that. That's good projects for me. I love those kind of projects because we get to do it all. Like when we're done, someone didn't just paint our web shop. We actually did the graphics and the buttons because we meant to do it. We had a plan by doing it. We wanted to decide the 2 or 3 things people would remember when they saw a page and went away from it. We wanted to decide that people noticed the add to cart button or the free shipping button that increased the turnover by 8% because we moved it up where it wasn't focused. So those processes, those projects are interesting to work with because you get to do the best you can do. You get to use your experience and your knowledge. So that's pretty cool to do. But of course, since we're doing this for a lot of clients and we're generalizing everything we do ourselves to REDSHOP, it also means that all of you can do the same with the same tool as we use. Now, during tonight or tomorrow, I'm not entirely sure when because there's 30 people sitting around the world working on this to get it online. A new thing on REDSHOP is actually single sales. Today you can only get access to the 100+ Pro extensions for REDSHOP if you're a Pro subscriber. From tomorrow you'll be able to buy them in single sales at $25 each without VAT. So if you only need one payment integration for like the German market, well, you just get that one. All of our components are free, of course, so you don't have to pay for the components. So the automatic updater that's coming, it'll be a bit different, but that's from the wireframe and the design we did on it. This is our demo template that's online right now, and that's the first template that's available for download too. And the second one coming is called The Movie. Unlike some template clubs, we didn't fill it with pictures that are missing when you download it. So we have the license rights to the pictures we're distributing with it. So you don't get a blank template to fill everything in. But as you can see, 10 new templates released from October 2012. The fashion store is the new demo site, and that's coming out. And all of these templates have native REDSHOP support. To be honest, we already have 9 of the 10 templates done and ready for Joomla 2.5, but we're releasing them one at a time to do the smaller details, the fine touch-up and stuff like that. But yeah, working with a native template is pretty fun because that means in terms of scalability, like if you go 2 or 3 years back and you like installed a Rocket Thief template or something like that, you could add 4 seconds to your loading time, because it was loading 250 files doing absolutely shit. So and when a client called you and said, oh, we need to have a new column here, and we go, oh no, that's 180 files we have to change. So that was not ideal, but they've learned from it, and all of the bigger template clubs, their frameworks today are a lot better than they used to be. That's good. But if you want to do a high-end, high-scale web shop with like 100,000 visitors a day, then the scalability issues and the small details are very important. So you need to make sure that the quality of the template you use is good. Now, all of our templates is, of course, as always, free for all our Pro subscribers, but anyone can go in and buy it as a single sale too. This is the technical documentation, the first versions we did. It's not available yet because we are cleaning the entire code base and redoing the commenting to get it good. This was just doing it, now we're making it right. So that's a big difference. But it will help a lot because if you need to do a third-party integration, you can go in and you can pick a model or anything, and you can, when it's add to cart or calculate VAT or whatever, and you can figure out which files trigger these events or actions and what to do with them. Now, as a new thing is, the new redComponent site is actually built on REDSHOP. So that means that when you go into the new site tomorrow, when you see these icons, they're actually subcategories in REDSHOP. So you can click and you can go into plugins or payment plugins or shipping plugins. You can pick what you like and add it to the cart. So look at redcomponent.com tomorrow, tonight. Worst case scenario Monday, but yeah, it's fluent. We have people working in 12 different time zones.
But the template is already there.
The template is already there, yeah. redshop.demo.redcomponent.com. We are also launching new demo sites for RedEvent and RedForm and some of our others. And our components are not quite Joomla 3.0 ready yet, but our new demo sites for RedEvent and RedForm and RedMember, RedList, RedItem, we bootstrap the front ends. And we're going to use that to bootstrap the rest of the components. So, but we're doing new demo sites and might as well do what we're going to do anyway. So, yeah, these are just some examples of web shops built with REDSHOP. This one is funny. They're selling office supplies. Like here's a cabinet. Well, the cabinet comes in, I think it's 2,200 different variations. So they wanted people to select their own model. Yeah, the company producing the elements for the cabinet wanted 25,000 euros for the pictures of the 2,200 different models.
That's pretty cheap.
Yeah, it can be even more expensive than that. But the thing was, then we figured out there has to be a way to do this simpler. Said, okay, you have three options. Let's just layer it. So you have a background image, the main product image, then you select the first option of up to 13 elements. You pick blue, it puts a blue content image on top of the layer and the canvas size is the same. Then you go to the second one, you click, you got the finished product. It's just 3 pictures added on top of each other. So that's a small feature plugin that does that with the REDSHOP images. When you select attributes, it will layer the images on top of each other. So now we have one product with 3 attributes with, I think it's 19 choices each, that gives 2,200 variations with 40 images instead of 2,200 images. This client had got some offers on building this in Flash. I think it was 400,000 euros for the project, something like that. I think we used 6 hours figuring it out and building the feature plugin and testing it. So yeah, but that's how, like, we're so used to doing customizations. If any of you are doing a project and you need something done, something custom, and you don't want to do it yourself, just mail us. We'll give you a quote within a day and it can be done in 8 business days. If anyone require a certain payment integration, we have a fixed price, 375 euros, we'll do it in 8 business days. So any payment integration on the planet, you decide. So if you have a client saying, we want this payment integration, send us a mail, and that's it. So, but this is just to show that visually, design-wise, there is no limitations. We have 2 slogans at the main office in Denmark. If you can draw it, we can do it. And the other one is learning by failing. So if you're not willing to take the risk of making failures, then you're not going to learn. That's the best way to learn. So this is one of our client sites, wilhelming.dk, just to show that it could be anything. Not your ordinarily or typically looking Joomla site per se. That's the category overview of each category. You go a step down. That's the category product view. And here we decided to use 3 products per line. You could also do 1 template doing that. Then you could do another category template doing 8 thumbnails per line. And you could do a third one doing only 1 product per line. Then you could go into the category up here of nature's color is the name. And you could say, well, this category should show 3 product per line templates as standard, but the clients can get to choose between this and this template. Then you could insert a tag to a small drop-down selector in the top, and they could change the view modes. So you can redo all of the view modes too, and you can do it independently for each category if you wanted to do that. You can have pages showing 8 products per page. You can have pages showing 800 products per page. There's complete customizability here. That's the product page itself. In this case, it's pretty simple. A quantity, add to cart, and a few images, and a like on Facebook. And that's the checkout. As you can see with these web shops, everything is kind of running in the same direction. There's everything is designed beforehand. I'm not sure if this one was actually wireframe too, but on 2 out of 3 customers will start with a workshop and wireframe and stuff like that too. So we have some sort of idea where we are going and why. And afterwards, when you deliver the project to the client and you have a wireframe they approved, a design they approved, and the final website looks like that, then it's pretty hard for the client to come and say, hey, that's not what we wanted. Hey, you took part in the process, you approved it, so now you have to be happy. So, but that'll reduce your complaints afterwards and problems with clients and everything like that. It'll completely disappear. So that's the demo site, redshop.demo.redcomponent.com. Yeah, and that's the last slide. Now, before we finish, I'm not even sure what the time is, but I just wanted to... 8 o'clock, that's good. We don't have the full width here. It's a small screen, but small preview or sneak peek of our new website. Now, one of the things it does is also, if you go into, this is the Buy Now button, REDSHOP 1.2 will feature subscriptions. So when you go into the product type tab, you can choose between normal products or downloadable products or subscriptions. And if you have a subscription, then basically it's tied to the Joomla ACL groups too. So if you get a subscription, you can get access to any ACL group, which means you can control any other component supporting the ACL too. In this case, the 12-month and the 12-month Pro subscriptions are 2 products in REDSHOP. They contain all the relations to all other products. So when we go down here, you see a detailed view. This is actually category, subcategories, categories, subcategories, summarization of each amount of products for each subscription in each category and subcategory. This is all automatically generated by REDSHOP. The what?
Is it like a product bundle?
Yeah, it's how much do you get with the Pro subscription or with your normal subscription, and it can be combined. So if we now go into REDSHOP and click details, I'm not sure if I'm hitting anything with my, yeah, I was. Now I have an issue because I have an old Internet Explorer 8 that hasn't been updated on this one. So there are some things not looking entirely correctly. But I only use this laptop at Joomla days, basically. I don't like working at laptops. I'm too fond of my 27-inch monitors, so. Now let's see if it's, I'm not sure it's actually loading like it's supposed to do here. No. Internet Explorer is just having an identity crisis. Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, as long as the majority of our clients still use Internet Explorer, I always use Internet Explorer. But then sometimes I'll get sick of it and open Firefox instead. But I made that rule like years ago, that as long as the majority of our clients use it, then I'll have to use it too. Because then you catch those silly mistakes, like before with Internet Explorer 6 and oh, there's something not loading. But if you use it yourself, then you will see the errors. So now we're in Firefox. We'll just do the same again. Oh, and we also will lower the prices because we changed all the currency to US dollars. Like Europeans don't mind paying in dollars, but Americans don't know how to pay in euros. I don't know if they don't get it. So now we changed the currency to US dollars instead. But instead of changing the prices, we kept the prices. We just changed the currency. So in reality, we dropped the prices in shop by 25, 30% or something. Now we go down here, and I'll just click details again. Let's see if it loads here. It should. Not that it's the quickest internet on the planet we're on here, but yeah. Then you see here this view here. It will show you which product, and this is products in REDSHOP categories, which product is part of which subscription. And you also have the price if it's single sales here. And you can add them to cart individually. You can also check off things here. And of course we have free plugins and modules too, so they will come out too. Then you can go down here, like we have a lot of plugins. The modules, we have payment and shipping plugins higher up. Then I can buy the checked. So all the products are checked down. I can add to cart in one go. Or I can go over here and add everything to my favorite list. So if I have a subscription, I can go through the REDSHOP, pick out all the things I like, add them to my favorite list. The next time I get in 3 months, I'll just go into my account, favorites, and click download my favorites. And I'll download all my favorites in one go. So all the places, in all the views, also in category view and the product detail view, if you're a subscriber, you're logged in, you will get directly access to download too. So we thought a lot about the usability, the access to elements, the direct download. So you won't have to spend 3 hours finding the download button, which you could on our old site. So, but basically, then you add the check to the cart. Yeah, and it's not quite doing that. Let's just do it individually here. Yeah, we just need to scroll a bit out on this small screen. But you see now I have some products in my cart, and then I can view the shopping cart. And now the interesting thing is when I get into the shopping cart, it will of course show me the details per product. Out here, my selection, etc., etc. I can remove it. I can see if it's including in a subscription. So if I go down here, I can see the price difference. Now I can already see that if I pay only $8 more, I might as well get a 12-month subscription, which would give me access to support too. So if I click here, then I can subscribe, and then it will be zero price on all the products I selected, and I just get the subscription. And of course, there's even more ads for the subscriptions down here, so you can see it's actually worth getting a subscription. But now let's say we go to the checkout. And the checkout, if you're an existing customer or you're a new customer, say we're a new customer, I'd like to be a business customer, because then I don't have to pay VAT. Then I fill out everything, move to the next step, and I can pick my poison. So all the payment integrations will be large logos of the payment integrations. To start with, we're launching it with PayPal and Moneybookers like we have today. But basically, what we're using to build the new redComponent site is the primary feature part that's actually going into REDSHOP 1.2, and it's being released in the general version too. So, but that was just a sneak peek of what's coming the coming days. Any questions or comments or anything like that?
First of all, this is impressive. And the second question I have is just, I'm looking for a simple store to offer my book download as e-books for $1.99 and payment via PayPal. Is it useful to take something like REDSHOP for that, or better to use something more simple? It would be nice to have it in a few languages, and it would be nice to have, I don't know, 3-4 features you have there, but yeah, it's not that big, so maybe really.
Well, it depends. Now, when you say multiple languages, in reality, you need multiple domain names or subdomain names. Because if you want to do your best in the search engine rankings, you need a subdomain or full domain for each language. So if you have one domain name with 5 languages, your 4 secondary languages will never do good in the search engines. So I see a lot of that, and people come to me, yeah, we want 5 languages. So okay, I'm also interested in selling your products in your 4 other languages.
It's even better for you than 5 instances.
Yeah, but it's the same license. But if you do that, if you want to do it right, then do a website in primary language, clone it 4 times, and keep them like on subdomains, dk.cocaine.com, and then you have all the subdomains for each individual. If you do it like that, then it's good. But is REDSHOP the right product? It could be, because it actually supports downloadable products in multiple formats, and that might be a good idea. A lot of the simple solutions for Joomla is actually add to cart button on Joomla article, and none of those are built for file download for digital products. So in today's reality, you would need an e-commerce system that handles digital products. So if you want to build it within the Joomla framework and CMS and everything, you would need to either use REDSHOP or a few other options. One option I think that might be possible could be Nicholas's Akiba's subscriptions, because it's more simple, but I think perhaps you could, by combining it with a file manager, because Akiba's subscription also let you control the ACL groups like REDSHOP does, but it's much more simple. You could perhaps make it work like that too. But in REDSHOP you can do it. In REDSHOP you could even upload a CSV file with serial numbers for each digital product, and whenever you sell a copy, it will automatically give out a new serial number too, depending if you're protecting your PDF files with passwords and stuff like that. So we're getting kicked out?
Not really, but all the other sessions are finished.
Yeah.
So if you could...
Okay, last question, anyone? Yes? If we have German what? No, we only have the English wiki. Basically, we've been developing REDSHOP so rapidly that we went away from the documentation and did a wiki instead. And our wiki is descriptive. It's not how-to guides and how to do this and this and this. You have to look at Hagen to do something like that. I've said it to him many times. Yes. Hagen, do it. I'll help pay for it and stuff. You do it and you sell it or give it away, because he's good at that. So we don't have German documentation as such yet, but we do have I think 48 translation teams working on translations to different languages, including a German one. And if you'd like to translate for any of our components, you can contact Ole, who's also part of Transifex, and we're on Transifex. So you can write to Ole, OLE, at redcomponent.com. So because I had Ole to be a translation manager, because he works a lot with translations, and I'm just, when it comes to translations, I'm just a dumb manager that I don't know that much. So Ole handles those things, and then I'll build e-commerce software. That's how we do it. So, well, thank you. It was good.